Okay, guys, let's get right into the news. I want you to check this out. It'll only take a couple of minutes. I'll leave it up so you guys can pause and read it, and then we'll discuss it right after. Okay, that is a huge revelation. If you see there, Donald Trump is basically saying anything that was used with AutoPen means that Biden didn't sign it or even have the knowledge to sign it. That includes basically the pardons. That includes the 235 judges, which is the most in history, that are currently blocking Trump's agenda, that have been appointed to the judicial system. Trump can undo all of it. All they got to do is see if it was an auto pen done by Joe Biden with that same signature, and it can be null and void. That is huge. Biden doesn't have any acknowledgement of it, and that can change the entire Biden administration or even completely undo it. It is huge. Like, the ramifications for that is astronomical. Whoever did the auto pen needs to be prosecuted and held accountable. Since when do we have a president auto penning everything? That is not legal, and it should not be allowed. Also, at the same time, we came to find out that the entire Biden administration ended up just going on autopilot mode. The press secretary, even on The View, ended up saying she had no acknowledgement of the what was happening inside of the White House. She never even spoke with Biden or Kamala. Check this out right here.
And how do we meet the moment?
And how do we meet the moment?
Press secretary, you were also an assistant to the president, so that meant you were able to interact with the campaign off time.
Actually, I could not I had a special kind of role as the press secretary. I did not interact with the campaign.
So you had no,
I did
as
not.
a commissioned officer,
I
the
could
president,
not,
you didn't?
because
so you
as
had
the press
no
secretary.
insight into the polling that showed he would have lost every swing
I
state?
did not,
That
because
ship has sailed.
Well, it does matter, though.
Okay, here's what's going to
You even see right there, she didn't even go and talk with Biden or Kamala, which is outrageous. This just shows how lazy and how inefficient this administration was. They were so hurtful, they weren't counting on them successfully. And yes, I am going to say this. Stealing an election. It needs to be talked about. Because you don't have an administration that is completely unprepared on day one unless something weird was happening. You are already starting to have prosecutions in regards to this previous election. You have to pay attention to what is going on. So yes, it can be identified as that, but at the same time, this is my opinion. So it could be wrong in your eyes or something like that, but this is my opinion in it, and I do believe the 2020 election was stolen. There were too many inconsistencies, and also at the same time, they had ballot box stuffing, which currently in Georgia, they're going after individuals for that. They're looking into the people who did this, not only just for 2020, but also for 2024. 2024 was harder to do that with because of the fact that they put in different fail-safes to prevent people from committing election fraud. And at the same time, they held those same people from 2020 accountable. So it made it a lot harder for these people to do it. But back to the Biden administration, overall, the administration basically wasn't doing what they were supposed to. They weren't taking control. Biden was on vacation for nearly half his term. Like, that is insane to think about. So who was actually in control of the White House? That is something we need to look into and we need to go after. And at the same time, the Department of Justice needs to start going after these individuals. They need to quit waiting around, waiting for something to happen. They need to start prosecuting. This is not something that can keep going around forever. There is something that, for the first time, I disagree with Trump on. I do not think the headquarters of the FBI should remain in Washington, D.C. I think Trump should have moved it either across the country or out of D.C. For the statement that he says here, and I'll show you this right now, and you can watch yourself, he ends up saying that he thinks it needs to be close to the DOJ as possible. I don't even think the DOJ should be in D.C., but that's another discussion we'll have for another time. But at the same time here, check this out.
And we're going to build another big FBI building right where it is, which would have been the right place because the FBI and the DOJ have to be near each other. You can't that's one thing I did learn from this persecution. The FBI and the DOJ work together. Now, in my case, they work together for bad purposes, but they do. They were always together. So how can you have one that's 3 hours away?
Yeah, as you can see, I don't want the FBI there. You can disagree with me. You can agree. That is up to you. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that. But at the same time, with the FBI there, it makes it quite convenient for the Department of Justice and the FBI to communicate. I get his point there, but the whole reason why we don't want the FBI and DOJ so close is so they can't go and communicate just as quick as they can, so they can conspire to go and create this swamp of a government. So I don't know who is going and influencing Trump in the background, because it seemed like Trump just did a complete 360 on this, and that isn't what I wanted. That isn't what I wanted, and that's not what the American people want. I know the American people voted on the fact that they were going to shut down the FBI and move them out. Another thing is with Kash Patel. You can see with him, he is going in there. I know there's something else going on, because Kash Patel wanted to shut down the FBI on day one and turn it into a museum. And then out of nowhere, he gets into the office now and basically silence. I get that he can't talk about things, but I thought he was going to go and turn things around there. I have more questions than anything, and basically it's one of those things that I want to see people held accountable. The one thing is, they need to release phase 2 to the Epstein documents. This is something that can't stay and wait around anymore. These people need held accountable. Either you inform the American people you didn't release them yet because you're getting ready to prosecute and you're building cases, but you can't leave the American people in the dark. There is no reason. You know where the documents are. They're in the National Archives. That includes the JFK documents. They're in the National Archives. They're there. You can go in and release them, declassify them, unredacted, because the government needs transparency. There is nothing that should be hid from the American people. Oh, if it's something that can't be handled by the American people, I'm sorry. Maybe you shouldn't have engaged in that conduct. But it is one of those things that people need to start being held accountable, and accountability needs to come. And the Trump administration needs to do something. Otherwise, if by the end of his term, if nothing is done, the American people need to come together, and this can't be another 4-year election. We can't just go and keep electing people. We're going to lose the republic, and this can't keep happening. So Trump needs to end up either going and giving a swift boot to the DOJ and saying, hey, get these documents out here, or let's go and handle this from here. But I know there was a lot of things I jumped around on here, but I would love to hear what you guys have to say. If you like my content, please make sure to like and follow me for more, and I will keep you updated as we keep going on. Thanks, guys.